Good morning, everyone. I'm Kelly Mokry, the co-owner of Lakeside Refinishing. I'm here with my husband, Mike, and I thought I'd show you a quick little tutorial this morning on what exactly an ink transfer is. I know I've posted a few pieces that I finished with one recently, and I thought that I would show you how it's done. Some people think it's like a decoupage process, and it's actually quite different. It's something that I've experimented a little bit with, and I've come up with a good process of doing it through trial and error, and I thought I'd share it with you. That way you kind of understand what goes into a piece that I've done. So I'm going to flip this around. Pardon my lighting in here. I'm doing it in my studio, which is in the basement of my home. I've got projects going on in the background with all kinds of furniture and stuff, so pardon the mess if you see that, but the other side of this happens to have a little tiny view of my lake that I get to see. Normally I'm outside working on the deck area, doing my work when it's nice out, but today it's a little breezy out there, and I didn't think that it would cooperate with my microphone system. So let me flip this around so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so now that I've got that straight, you can see here that I've done a little what's called a drum table. It's a nice little vintage piece that I picked up. It has painted on the bottom of it a nice gray finish to it. It's hard to see with the lighting in here, I know, but cute little legs that actually when I picked up the piece, two of the legs were broken on it. So I had my father, who's a very handy craftsman, redo them for me. He made a template out of the one existing leg and recut and made two new legs that matched it exactly. So he did an awesome job on that. And I stripped it all down, sanded it several times, and then I coated it with fusion paint, which is actually a mineral paint. It bonds to the wood and creates a super strong bond to it, so it really doesn't need to go through all the poly and things like that, so it leaves a beautiful, beautiful finish to your piece. What I used on this, if you can see, is a picket fence white and a soapstone gray, one of my favorite grays. It's a very popular color these days. But what I've done is, after I have painted it and sanded it down several times, I have taken an image that I found and printed it out. You do have to have a laser printer to do this to get the best effect. This is a similar one. I didn't use this exact one on the table piece, but it's a very similar one. You print it out. If it has lettering in it, you have to print it in reverse. If you just put it down in the normal fashion, your lettering is all going to be in reverse. So you need to reverse it, and then you're going to coat it with what's called a decoupage or transfer gel medium. This is the one that I actually used on this one. There's a lot of them on the market that are also wonderful. This just happens to be the one that has worked well for me, that I've tried several times. So I take my decoupage and I completely paint the entire surface of the table. And then I take my image, I rip out anything that I don't want, any extra paper, anything like that, flip it over, and press it down onto the surface. And you do have to take and burnish it, so use the back of a spoon or something that's smooth, but you're going to be able to get good pressure onto it. And then burnish that image into it. What you're going to be left with is what you see here. So it is still white from all the paper. It is stuck down and adhered very well. But you need to leave this overnight, so a good 24 hours, I would say. Some people do like to leave theirs longer. I found 24 hours works well for me. I've also found that when I do it, if I print it and then put the image on like within an hour, it seems to work better for me. Only because I feel that the ink is still fresh and it releases much better and deeper into your paint surface. After it has dried completely, what you're going to do is take it and you're going to get it damp, such as I've done over here. Just spray it with a little bit of water, and then you're going to go after it, and slowly and carefully you're going to actually remove all of that paper and pulp that was on there. And what it has done is, through that 24-hour period, it has transferred the ink into your paint and has permanently bonded it into that paint and wood surface. You can do this on raw wood, other brands of paint and other transfer methods. I've heard there's Citrusol, there's alcohol release ones. There's a lot of different products that will give you a similar result. Some do it, almost immediately. It all depends on what type of paint that you're using, what type of results that you're looking to get into this. I simply prefer this method. It works very well for me. I feel that I get a beautiful ink release on this. Sometimes if you do it when the ink is still too fresh, that the paper has not sat for a full 24 hours, you will get parts of your ink that will come up in the process. And that's fine if it's not a lot, because you're still going to be distressing the piece. Taking a little bit of sandpaper after this, you might go after it and try to rough it up a little bit so that you don't see as perfect as a result. You might want it to have more of a roughened up look to it, more aged appearance, which I've done, as you've seen on the magazine table that I had recently posted on my site. That one I did go over it with some sandpaper, and then I also had gone over it with a glazing medium that gave it more of an antique finish. But this is pretty much, you can see here how beautifully, this here has no paper on it any longer. How beautifully that has come out on there. Such a nice crisp finish to it. And again, like I said, if you want, you can go over it with a little bit of sandpaper, roughen it up, give it more of a distressed look, and so on. But just be careful when you're doing this, because if you go at it too roughly and too fast, you will pull the ink out of there, because you're putting water onto it, and it hasn't had a full curing on it yet. So just do a little bit of patience. Unfortunately, that is something you have to have at this this occupation, is a lot of patience when you're working with furniture, and especially refinishing any type of antiques. Just a little bit of patience, a little bit of knowledge, and you're good to go. But after this, I will actually seal this off, because it is a tabletop, and I want to guarantee that anybody who uses this after me is going to be able to put their coffee cup or anything liquid on top of here and not have any worries of that coming off. So I will actually be sealing this several times with a sealer. Generally, I like to use a poly. It gives a much more durable finish, and it will resist yellowing on you with time. White is always a very tricky color when it comes to sealing, because a lot of your tannins will come up out of the woodwork through a white, and they'll show through with a yellow or an orangish tint on your white surface. So that is all I have for today. Keep posted. Tune in to Lakeside Refinishing and see what's up. Thanks, everyone.